Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk about my least favorite episodes of Season 1 of Sliders. Now, for the most part, these are only my least favorite. I don't hate them by no means whatsoever. I haven't gotten to the third season yet. So it's just like I like these episodes, I just don't particularly love them. But I do like them overall. Like I can watch it and enjoy myself. It's just there's certain little things that kind of irritate me. The episode Last Days. It's an episode where the sliders slide onto a world. And the people there acting kind of unusual. They see this one dude, he gets like a parking ticket and then he crumbles it up and it pisses off the meter person. And he says, what's the point? That the world's gonna end, blah blah stuff like that. And so basically, I think there's a bunch of people in the street. I can't remember if they're just like celebrating or a couple people are upset, something like that. But something happened that forces the sliders into like some type of like electronics store. And so they're watching the TV news and the dude's telling them, like, because they don't understand what's really going on in this world. And the dude tells them that the world's about to end because it's about to get hit by a meteorite. And so they're beyond panic because, they don't slide until the day after the thing hits. And so, like, they know they're screwed. And, like, Rembrandt, he's just going off the wall, talking about how it's your fault, I'm in this mess, stuff like that. And and Wade is trying to like calm Rembrandt down, but then she kind of asks Quinn, yo, do you got like a plan? Like seriously, because like they're screwed, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they can't, well, they could activate the timer before the thing hits, but of course if they do that, it corrupts the data even more, and it's a less likely chance they'll get back home. Personally, I would have done that. I mean, they've done it before, so why not? Like, again, And so, as they're all panicking, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Now, this is the part that kind of upsets me a little bit, but I understand his reasoning. Rembrandt decides just to leave the group. And, like, he said he needs to clear his mind and stuff like that. He leaves for the remainder of the stinking episode. It was like back when I said a long time ago, this is when I really didn't particularly like Rembrandt because he kept deserting the group. I mean, I get where he's coming from. He's the outsider of this group. He doesn't know these people. He is totally screwed by sliding. And he just kind of just wants to kind of like just do his own thing and have fun. And, so I get that. But still, it's kind of like, you are now part of this group. Y'all have to work as a unit, like a family. And you just can't go deserting people and stuff. So that really upset me. And one of the reasons why I particularly just don't like this episode, I don't like how he abandoned. And you can't call them his friends because they're not his friends yet. But even in like the first episode, these people were willing to do whatever it takes just to free him when he got captured and stuff. And if that's not friendship, hey man, I don't know what is, you know what I'm saying? So Wade wants to go see like her parents and Quinn wants to see like his mom and Professor. He is trying to see what the scientists of the world are trying to figure out and stuff. And so a little old school 90s for you. When the professor asked to use the phone, the dude's all like, it'll cost you. I don't know if the professor was gonna make like a long distance call or what, because back in those days when you make a long distance call, you had to pay like a lot of money. And they used to have this one thing called, I think, AT&T Collect, I believe, and stuff like that. I still remember those old commercials and stuff. Anyways, Quinn goes back to his place and he sees his mom's not there. But then he kind of assumes, hey, maybe the sliding technology is there. So he goes down in the basement and it is. The dude is ecstatic. However, this Quinn's basement looks a little different than his. It has dinosaurs and stuff. And so Wade was kind of confused because she didn't understand, like, she was surprised that this dude's into dinosaurs. And Quinn's all like, he had a thing for like dinosaurs, even in his world and stuff. So he's looking at the sliding equipment and trying to see how compatible it is to his, and maybe he can like reboot his timer and then send them all back home and stuff. He didn't say anything about sliding the entire world out, just like him and the others. Which is kind of like one of those things where it's kind of like, you know, I get it, but it's kind of selfish, but I get it. I mean, it's not like season 3 when they had to like evacuate the entire planet and stuff, you know. So the professor, he ends up going to like, I believe like some type of museum, and they're having like a discussion about the meteorite and, you know, and this and that. And Benish is there. Good old Benish with his curly hair and everything. And he's going off talking about, you know, what about the atom bomb, man? Like, we can explode it. And then so Professor is completely surprised to see him. And then, of course, the scientist dude, he's all like, you know, Einstein's nuke was like a dud. It doesn't work. And we can't destroy it that way, and blah, blah, blah. And then he starts like rambling some more. And the professor goes to talk to him. And of course, you know, Benish doesn't know him, but Professor knows him and everything. And this Benish is a whole lot meaner and paranoid than the one we know. And so he lets the professor know straight up he has the prototype for the atom bomb and stuff. I forgot how he gets it, but he has it. So the professor's all like, you know, we're gonna save the world and everything like that, because the professor somehow he knows what all Einstein used to make a nuke and everything like that, because, you know, he's the professor. He's the one who actually saves the day in the first 3 seasons. He's the actual hero. Now, I do like that part. I do like the fact that the professor is such a genius that the man can literally reconstruct the atom bomb. Well, he can't reconstruct it from like memory. Benish actually has some notes, but the professor also knows like a great deal about it, to where he can correct what Einstein made a mistake and everything. And I do like that. I do like, you know, 'cause it's great to have a show like this where you have 2 geniuses and stuff, and they're basically like the same when it comes to how smart they are. Of course, Quinn's a bit smarter because he created sliding and stuff. And I always appreciate those really intelligent like characters in TV shows. Because it's like, you know, when you stop and you think about it, yeah, millionaires and corporate people, they run the world, and so do the government people. But you want to know something? It's the smart people that make stuff. And the smart people that make stuff, we wouldn't have nothing. So basically, they secretly rule the world. But of course, the corporation, billionaires, stuff like that, they have the more money. But then, of course, there are some scientists like Bill Gates that, you know, made a bunch of stuff, became famous, and became billionaires, and then they run stuff. So it's like, who are the people that really run the world? The intelligent people, the smart people. Because without them, man, we'll be back in the Stone Age, man. You know what I'm saying? So Rembrandt finds a group of people who are basically just partying their life away until, you know, the Big Bang and everything. And as he's there, he's, you know, winding down. He's having a good time. He's partying. He's kissing women, stuff like that. And then as he's there, he meets a woman that's married, and they're just having a great old time until the lady husband starts to scare Rembrandt. He wants to play Russian roulette. And basically, he has a gun, and whoever it lands on, you know, boom. And stuff. So Rembrandt's kind of like, you know, man, this is not the way to go. And dude's all like, you know, just let me have my fun, blah, blah, who asked you? You're not, blah, 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 stuff like that. And so basically, it scares the wife and Rembrandt so much that Rembrandt takes the wife on out of there. And, you know, they have like a little heart-to-heart talk, and nothing romantic happened between those two. But it's good to see that Rembrandt, even though he abandoned like his people, he still has a heart, and he still will do what's right, and he still will help somebody even though he doesn't know them. And he sees that this woman, even though she's about to blow up from a giant space object, you know, it's like he rather for her to die that way than to commit suicide and stuff. So Quinn, and he's down in the basement, he's like reconfiguring stuff because he finds out that sliding equipment doesn't take you to parallel world. It basically is supposed to travel you through time, which Quinn said is impossible and does not exist. And so that's what that one episode in later seasons confused the crap out of me, because the dude literally says time travel doesn't exist. And that is like the patent rule of this show. So, he's been working like hours and hours, and he's so tired. And, he's like just trying to do his best, because he knows he got everybody into this situation and he has to be the one to get them out. Plus, he don't want to die. So in a way, he's doing everything, and he reconfigured it, and then when he turns it on, everything's working fine until the sliding equipment overpowered the electricity in the house, and everything is just like fried. And he is just like beside himself, pissed off, because he sees himself as a huge failure who couldn't even like reconfigure the sliding equipment to match his. And he knows now that that's it. He's dead. He's gonna die. The professor's gonna die. Wade is gonna die. Rembrandt is gonna die. And he just can't like take it, you know what I'm saying? And it has to be Wade, the one who has to calm him down. So they have like a nice dinner because she cooked for him and stuff. Because once again, man, Wade doesn't do nothing in this episode whatsoever. And that's what really bugs me about the first season. Is Wade, like, if you were to really go through every episode and see really what Wade does, is little to nothing. Like, she gets dwarfed so much in this like season, or nerfed. That's like what the younger people are saying nowadays. Like, she gets nerfed in her own show like so badly and stuff. And it's just like she's basically there to cook for him like a woman from like the 1950s, and to console him like a woman from back in the old days and stuff. That's basically all she really does in this entire episode. And that's one of the reasons why I don't particularly love this episode. When it comes to sliders, I want the group to contribute something. I want them to like, pull their own weight, do something, whether it's something with computers, or trying to like spy on somebody, or like trying to like build something, or like or I'm trying to just help save someone, you know what I'm saying? And not just like cook for them. So Professor, his part in this whole series, episode, is like pretty much the funniest. Him and Benish is getting on the dude's nerve. He's cranking up the rock and roll music. The professor's like screaming, and then he's all like, "Oh, I got something a little bit more mellow," and it's louder than what the other music is and stuff. That's one thing. It's one thing I do love and I hate about the first season, like the humor. I love it. But I prefer the show to be more serious, like in the second series. But you gotta admit, when the humor is good in the first season, it's like golden, you know what I'm saying? And so they're working hard and everything, and they got the schematics for like Einstein's nuke. And on this world, Einstein called it something different. I forget what it is. I think it's called Fat Boy or something like that. But one of them on the show calls it Fat Man, and the other one calls it like Fat Boy. I don't know exactly which it is, but it's one of those two, something like that. So Benish starts to kind of like creep the professor out, because he's talking about first it's like this nuclear missile destroying like a meteorite, and next it's like nuclear power plants and nuclear energy, and and stuff like that. And then the professor tells him, you do that, and it's gonna be a whole lot of nuclear waste you have to get rid of, and that's a whole lot of pollution and radiation. And then Benish all like, whatever, we'll figure it out. Us two working together, we can do anything. Like, who's gonna stop us, man? We have the atom bomb. And the professor's like, crap. Because that is something. You don't want to give nobody a nuke, because nuclear like capability, because you just don't know what they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, God, look at our country and other countries around the world. Like, how often is like, America, North Korea, and Russia constantly like going at one another, talking about, oh, we got nukes and this, and that, and stuff. It's just like, it's dangerous, man. You know what I'm saying? Einstein created something that was so powerful and important at that time, like at that time in like history culture. You know what I'm saying? It's like whether you like it or not, the results speak for themselves. And it's kind of like at that time, they justified what they did with the nukes and stuff that helped them win like a war. But my God, look what happened now. Now you have countries constantly with their finger on the button talking about you piss me off and I'll blow your country up, and you piss me off and I'll blow your country off the map. And it's just like terrible and stuff now. It's like when you have power, it literally makes you the most dangerous person in the world. And that's what the professor fears and stuff when it comes to Benish. Also, one interesting thing when it comes to Einstein of that world, he actually did something very interesting. The bomb was never a dud. Everybody believed it was. He actually configured it to where it just wouldn't work because he feared the ramifications in the aftermath of what might happen afterwards. Something I just like stated before. So Quinn and Wade are having their heart to heart, they're dancing and stuff, and they kiss, and the professor comes in, and and he's like starving when he sees the food, and he just starts eating it. Won't even tell them what he's been up to. Just starts eating the food. But then he later on tells them, him and Benish, they made a nuke that's gonna blow them, the meteorite up and all this other good stuff. So then they head like downtown because they have like a military escort, and somehow they find Rembrandt. Rembrandt like finds his way back. I think they were supposed to rendezvous at a certain point, and so they meet all back up, and everybody's all happy to see him and stuff. And no way, I'm screwing that part up. Before that, him and that lady, they went to church and they started feeding the homeless. The either that night or that morning. I feel like it was daytime when they fed the homeless. It could have been at night. And they fed the homeless. Yeah, that's what it was. They fed the homeless that night because, that's right, because the meteorite was coming that night. Okay, yeah. So Rembrandt and that lady went to church. They fed like the homeless and everything. Then he said he had to meet his friends. And that's when he met them at the rendezvous point. And then, they're all there downtown. And Rembrandt's all like happy and excited. He gets to live now. And so, they shoot the rocket up in the sky with a missile on the warhead. And so then it hits the asteroid, but nothing like really happens. And then Professor's all like, sound travels at the speed of light, whoever he was talking about, and then boom, you know what I'm saying? Like it explodes. Everybody's all happy and excited. And then the next morning, it's kind of like, people are pissed because like a lot of the folks up in like the Hampton Hills were selling like their homes, and now they got trashed, and now they have to fix them up and all this other stuff. They thought they was gonna die. And it's kind of like, it's a good episode. I enjoy this episode. It's just, my problem with this episode is kind of like, the fact that Rembrandt deserted the group. Wade doesn't do much of anything. And it's kind of like, it sucks that Quinn like failed. Because it's kind of like, he's supposed to be this boy genius. And he's supposed to be smarter than the professor. And I love the emotion on his face, when he screwed up. Because the one thing Jerry O'Connell, he said something, God, was it this year or was it last year on Twitter? This was before he got cast in, I think, Star Trek Lower Decks. And he was saying something about like how he wants Sliders to come back. And he was just rambling online about somebody. He was like, the dude who created Sly, he's all like, I'm a better actor now, and and something about the show coming back. He wants it to come back. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I told him, like, dude, you were like a good actor and stuff. Like, Sliders was like his defining moment, you know what I'm saying? Because I know he had like this show when he was a teenager. I think it was kind of like he was like a superhero kind of thing, or he had struck by a radioactive power or something like that. I never watched it, but I saw like the intro and I couldn't believe it was him. But like the dude's a good actor, you know what I'm saying? Like he was good in Sliders, he was good in Scream 2. That's really I haven't really seen him in much of anything, because I don't like watch a lot of the movies he was in. But I remember he was in that one really funny movie with Jennifer Love Hewitt, where she's like the girl everybody loves, and this one dude's waiting for her to go to like a party. Can't hardly wait. That's it. He had like a cameo in that. He was pretty cool in that too, you know. And it's like it's really kind of hurtful when he said like he didn't think of himself as a really good actor back then, and he's better now. And I'm just like, he's a really good actor and stuff. The only problem I have with his acting now, he smiles too much for some reason when he's on TV. Like he always smile, his face always looks like he's smiling even when he's not smiling. I'm starting to wonder. He said he didn't have no plastic surgery on his face. But man, I don't know. Around like the eye area, it's kind of hyped up. But you know how people are when they get plastic surgery. They don't like to admit it. But then I never did explain the ending after they slid. When they're about to slide, the professor drops the schematics to the atom bomb, and Benish picks them up. And then after they slide, Benish is all like, first the meteorite, next the world, or something like that. He says, and so there's really no telling what he's gonna do now that he has nuclear power. And it's really interesting. Like, if there's a revival, I hope they go back to that episode and see what Benish did. And I hope it's something bad, because then, the slide would have to stop him and stuff. And so I like the way it ended, because it's kind of like, oh my God, a what if type thing. But it's just something about this episode that just didn't really make me feel like fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel full like after a meal. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still hungry for more. Because like I said before, I don't like what they did to Wade, and I don't like what they did to Rembrandt. It's just kind of like, if you were to take them out, literally, if you were to take both of them out the show in the first season, like, it wouldn't really matter that much, because Professor and Quinn are the smart ones, so they'll be the ones solving everything. But Rembrandt was there for comedic relief, and Wade was just there just because she's a female and stuff. Okay, so the next episode I particularly don't like, Somewhere of Love. Now, this is an episode I think is probably the most hilarious episode of the entire series. Like, my God, the humor. The humor. I think it is funny. And I love it for the humor. But that's probably the reason why I don't particularly like this episode. It's nothing but a comedic episode. Not much of anything gets done. And two of the characters, once again, don't do absolutely nothing. So the episode starts off with the FBI knocking on Benish's door because they want to investigate him on the disappearance of 4 people, the Sliders. See, in the video that they watched, Quinn mentions Benish's name, so they think he might have something to do with it or know what's going on. They take him to Quinn's lab in the basement, and Benish is like, "Whoa, far out, man! This is like awesome and stuff." And then so they show him the video. Now this is where we get the IDs of like all the Sliders when they're born, stuff like that. And so he's watching the video, and Benish knows exactly what Quinn is talking about in this video. His mind is blown, and so the FBI agent dude's all like, "Where are they at? No, where did they go?" Something like that. And he's all like, "Oh, they traveled to like a different world, man." Okay, so it starts off, and they're on the world, and they learn that this world has a creature, a little bug. The bug is like a hybrid of like a wasp and a tarantula. And it's really big, it's really powerful, and it can literally kill you. And so they're freaking out because of that. And there's a huge swarm coming towards them. And they said, okay, fine, they're just gonna slide out of there even though it's not time. So then, but the timer isn't really working that well. So they activate it, and Rembrandt and Wade go through. Then it shuts. It completely closes. This freaks out the other 2. He smacks it a couple of times, and then he reactivates it, and then it opens up. So then they slide on out of there. And then when they slide out of there, they realize something. Rembrandt and Wade are there by themselves. And Wade's all like, holy crap. Like, they don't see the professor or Quinn nowhere, and they don't have the timer. So they know no matter what, they're trapped there on whatever world that is. And they are upset, especially Rembrandt. And just like Wade said, they're there for keeps. Now, Rembrandt did not hear the word keeps. If he did, he would not do something that pissed me off in this episode. So they meet a bunch of like hippie people because when they slid into the world, the vortex opened up right in front of them. So now the hippie people think they're like gods or something like that. And so they take them back to like their little like nest where they like to like hang out and get high and stuff. And so Rembrandt's all like, he's gonna go search for his friends. Maybe they're down in the world. Maybe they got separated, something like that. So they give him a car, and he's driving through town. He leaves Wade there because they want to hear more about her philosophy and stuff. Well, Quinn and the professor, they do end up on that world that Wade and Rembrandt are on, but they don't know it yet. And so they're on another part of like town. And the professor has one of those wasp things attached to his back. A couple of them flew into the world and stuff. And so Quinn's all like, he's gonna hit it with a boulder, and he was really good at playing like football, so he's gonna get it. He completely misses the dude back and hits him in the head, knocks him completely out. So he has to wrap his head in like a cloth and stuff. And so then they go into town and they're upset because, they can't find the others. And so they end up getting into a hotel, and the timer is completely screwed up. It's completely fried. So Quinn spends pretty much the entire part of the episode trying to fix the timer. But it's like I said before, it's really fried and stuff. So they're trying to find like a place to stay, place to go, and they're realizing that there's a lot of hippie people on this world, which the professor does not like. Leave it to the professor not to like hippie people. This world is like stuck in the 1970s, like the culture and stuff. And the professor, like he states, he hated the 60s. Was it the 60s? The hippie people, summer of love, or at the 70s. I was born in the 80s. So let's see. 70s was like disco and grunge. So this had to be the 60s. So something like that. So he hates the 60s, he said. Professor just hates everything and everybody. And so like he's there, and I think there's like a cop dude, and the cop dude pisses the professor off because he thinks that because when Quinn tied up his head with a bandage, it was kind of like a hippie rag and stuff like that. And it's a scarf, and so that pisses the cop off. He's all like, "Get a job, you burn out." And the professor, be the comedic person he is, he's all like, "I do have a job. I'm a professor at like a university," and everything like that. Like, you gotta admit, dude, that's gotta be the most embarrassing thing ever. Like, here you is, this like scientist dude with a great like degree, and you're a teacher, and you teach people science, and in the world you're going, nobody appreciates you because they think you're just a bum. So Rembrandt, he's driving around and he sees his old house. So he decides that there's a lot of people there. He wants to see what's going on, being a nosy person that he is. So when he goes in, he sees that they're having a funeral for him. And there's some of the great comedic chops from Rembrandt, man. He's eating like a donut. He's listening to what everybody's saying about him. And he's just like commenting on everything because he feels appreciated and can't believe like he died on that world. Then they start, instead of like saying good things, but then they start talking crap and smack about him, like his brother and stuff. This pisses Rembrandt off to where he exposes himself and lets people know you ain't gonna talk to him like that because he's Rembrandt Brown. And everybody is shocked. This one woman screamed. They think it's a ghost. He came back from the dead and everything. And so in this world, he's married and has a kid. And people don't understand how he's alive because the military literally said he died in the war and stuff. But he's alive and well, and they see that. They don't know nothing about parallel dimensions. So anyway, Rembrandt's wife in this world tells him straight up you know, this is like a miracle and this and that. And like, she don't know why he faked his death, but she's gonna give him the best time of his life. Now, this was something interesting that I didn't catch before until later on. It's something Rembrandt Brothers says to him that this is kind of odd a little bit, because then his wife comes in and then she interrupts him. I think something about like this Rembrandt's like a cheater, and so he cheats on his wife, and his wife's all like she's gonna make him forget all about those other women, this and that. Later on in this episode, when he's talking to his son says something because Rembrandt pretty much had well, an explosion that night. Let's just say that. And when his son tells him something, it was kind of like, even us, the audience, was kind of like, wait, what? Because it's kind of like we found out that Rembrandt's wife is mean. Let's just put it that way. Think of her as a dominatrix, but not in a good, fun kind of way. And you're gonna do the chores kind of way. She is like a dictator of the house. It's her house, it's her rules. She wears the pants in the family, and she makes sure Rembrandt wears like the skirt. And he's just kind of like, ah, crap. So his good time was over, and his son is bratty and rude. Pretty much Rembrandt spends the entire episode cleaning, dusting, doing all kind of chores. And you know what? And this is like funny, but it's also it's payback because he abandoned Wade again. Like the dude literally abandoned her. Like she literally told him, "Hey, went in it for keeps," and he's off having a good time again. And like he wasn't even thinking about her. Like in him and Wade's mind, the professor and Quinn aren't even there, and he literally just abandons Wade. In fact, we don't even see Wade back to and towards the end of the episode and stuff. So Quinn and the professor, they found a hotel or a motel or whatever. And it's funny because when they're trying to like, renovate the motel, the landlord lady, dude, she is hilarious. One, she hates hippies. Two, she's all for that country. And three, hey, I found my screw. I was looking for that. Okay, anyway, so, anyway, she's this hilarious old grumpy woman who has a rat in her hand because she just killed it. And so she's wagging it in their faces as she's talking because she hates hippie people. And when she sees the thing on the professor's head, she's not really sure about him. Plus, the professor said that he's Quinn's brother. Quinn said it's his dad. And when she finds out that they're lying, she gets very, very suspicious and paranoid. So Quinn and the professor. Quinn is like working on the timer, and the professor comes up with a very intriguing offer. He tells them the timer can't be fixed, so let's rebuild it from scratch. And he said with Quinn's mechanical skills and his mathematics, they should be able to make and improve a timer to get back home. Personally, I do feel this part is true, but I also feel the professor is looking to capitalize on this. See, the professor is very bitter that Quinn was able to do something he was not. Build a timer and slide to a parallel dimension. The professor is his teacher at the university. Quinn is the student. And the fact that the student has literally outdone the master, the professor ain't happy about that. Now, on other worlds that we see, the professor is normally a jerk, a bad guy, a tyrant, a person who wants to literally rule the entire country, who will murder people, this and that. He will stab, backstab, betray, and those other versions of him. And then, of course, on that one world where we don't know the professor slid or not, and it was the other one, That professor wanted to make sliding all his own. He lied and said he's the one who built it and this and that. The only time the professor ever actually built sliding was in the third season. In the premiere episode, even though it wasn't really the no. That was supposed to be the premiere episode, but it wasn't. It was the second. Because they did it out of order. Because they wanted more of an action-packed episode with the whole reality show thing. And so I think that our professor is very, like I said before, sometimes I think he's a little bit of a villain, slightly, because of how angry he is and how bitter he is. He literally wants the glory for sliding on, like, for him, like, not necessarily for himself, but he wants to be a part of it, you know? Because of course you'll win like a Nobel Peace Prize and stuff. And he will rank up from being a professor to an actual scientist in the lab and all this other stuff. So when the professor and Quinn, at one point when they was at the calf and the cops had insulted the professor, they see Benish. Head like cut, he's clean, he's neat, and he's talking about the war and all this other stuff. So at some point, I guess like the landlord lady was spying on them. It makes her suspicious. So she goes out and she goes and call the FBI because the president is supposed to come into town and stuff. And so she's at the payphone. Yeah, the payphone. Remember those things? I've never been in the payphone, but I've seen a couple like remodified kind. Not the Superman kind, like in New York, where you walk inside. These are more the ones like the one we used to have where I'm from. It was kind of like on a little pole, and it's like a little box, and boom, there's the phone inside. Anyway, so she's talking to the FBI and everything. She thinks Quinn and the professor are terrorists, and they're gonna blow up the president. And so a dude knocks on like the door. He wants to use the phone. And the woman's like talking to the FBI and she's all like, as I was saying, and the dude's like pounding the door. And then she pulls out a pistol and then she points it at the dude and doesn't even look at him. She just points it in his face and doesn't even look at him. That's how like, how raw that lady is. And she's like, as I was saying, I think they're here to harm the president and stuff like that. And the dude like slowly backs off and just takes off right there. Humor. Oh boy, I love that scene. It reminds me of like the first episode of Ninja Turtles from the 80s when that old lady pulls out a machine gun and just starts like going crazy on the turtles. It reminds me of that. So Rembrandt, back with him. His son comes in and talking about how Rembrandt is in trouble because it turns out the real Rembrandt is alive overseas and that this dude's an imposter. But don't worry because his mom's gonna take care of him. She whips out the shotgun and she just starts firing at him. Rembrandt's running outside in his little like hippie nightgown thing, and then he runs into the car and he just drives off as she calls him a jive turkey and just shooting at her and stuff. I mean, you can't blame her because here she is thinking that's her husband and he's like some imposter dude that got him some, you know? And it's kind of like, when you think about it, especially now in 2021, it's kind of morally wrong. Even though that is technically his wife, it's not his wife, it's the other Rembrandt's wife. And like, he did it with her, but she consented because she thought it was like the other Rembrandt. But it's just, it's one of those things I never thought about until now. So the professor wakes up because him and Quinn been going back and forth, taking shifts on like doing these equations and stuff like that. And when he wakes up, he sees Quinn has finished his part of the equations. And the professor's all like, he doesn't understand how, because the professor has been stumped trying to do that. And, you know, it just makes him even more irked at Quinn because Quinn is smarter than him. And so Quinn tells him, this is the thing, the one thing that irritates me about this whole episode. Quinn tells him what's going on in this world, how America is at war with, I think, Australia, I believe, or something like that. And it's kind of like, it would be nice to see that, you know, we don't see none of that. And it's like, literally, if you was to watch this episode, you would never assume that America was at war with somebody and stuff. And so there's like no Australian people trying to like blow them up or spy on them, nothing like that. It's just a bunch of hippie people and comedic stuff, and it's just like it's one of those times when when you watch an episode and you go to another world, you want to see what's going on in this world and how it affects the sliders and how it might affect us in our real world, because the parallels and stuff, and we don't get none of that, and that's just like a letdown of the entire episode. It's like it was just a pointless comedic episode. So the FBI busts in a similar way that they did with Benish and stuff. And it's kind of like a nice little recreation. And so they're taking the pictures and they're interrogating. Now the other FBI agent person, they're in charge. And so they ask, what's all this equation stuff? And we heard some suspicious activity from your landlord. And they think that the professor and Quinn are making a pipe bomb. And the professor is all like, a pipe bomb? Like, this thing is way more advanced than a pipe bomb. And that kind of screws up. Because now they're all like, oh, you really are going to blow something up. And this is more advanced than a pipe bomb. So as they're like going back and forth, Quinn overhears some singing out in the street. It's Rembrandt. He's driving along. He's singing super loud. And Quinn's excited because he's all like, holy crap. They actually did slide on the world with Rembrandt and Wade. So he runs out and the FBI, like, just let him run. No, they try to stop him, but the professor, he stops the FBI. So Quinn is like running the street in hippie clothes and like, calling out for Rembrandt, and then Rembrandt stops talking about, look at this fool behind me trying to chase after me. But then he sees that it's Quinn and he's excited. You know what I'm saying? And it was nice to see Rembrandt happy for Quinn, because we all know he doesn't always get along with him because of the situation that they're in. And then next thing you know, we see the professor running with guns in his hand. And of course, the professor's a big dude, so when he runs, it's kind of funny in a way. But the dude's doing his best, and he's speeding all along, and he like flips into the car, and then he tosses the guns out, and they drive off. And then what do we see? In the next scene, it's Wade, and she's talking about philosophy and everything from her world, and she's telling to the hippie people and stuff. And the professor comes in to spoil everybody's mood, talking about Miss Wade, that was irresponsible of you. This is a different world, different customs. You should have no comment. And then so she gets snippy with the professor and tells her that or tells him that what's the point in going to other worlds if we can't share our philosophies? And then she tells him like to butt out and everything. So it was nice that she had like her nice little moment to shut the professor up. But like I said before, she's not even in the episode. You see her in the beginning and then you see her at the end. And that's it. Like, they literally don't do nothing. Or she doesn't do anything. Then they slide out of there. When exactly did Quinn fix the timer? I have no freaking idea. Because they were doing the equations and stuff on like the wall. And it's like we never really saw him like fiddle around with the timer. So they slide out of there. And when they're there, yeah, I think it's that episode where the ice caps have flooded and melted. The ice caps melted, and it's about to flood San Francisco. And that's when the other episode, what's that one called? The Prince of Wales, I believe. It's where they're like on that building. There's like that giant shark thing, and then they slide in that British world and stuff like that. So it's just like, yeah, it's just like, this isn't really my favorite. Like, I do love it, like, 'cause it's funny, but I don't like love it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, wait, they disrespected the crap out of that actress in the first season, man. Like, you'll be surprised. Like, you just like go to every episode in the first season and count how many minutes she's in there. You will be shocked. You will be shocked and surprised. She's barely in the first season. She's barely in this episode. I also doesn't like how, like, Rembrandt abandoned Wade. Like, she had nobody. She was there with a bunch of strangers, and he just straight up leaves her and stuff. And that was just like so low down. Now, one thing about this episode that really also bugged the crap out of me was the two different sliding groups in this episode. They're not really thinking about the other group whatsoever. Like, they do for a split second. And after that split second, they go on with their lives. And it's kind of like, if you slid there and you're stuck there, either because you don't have the timer or the timer's broken, and you're like, crap, man, like, what about our friends and this and that? Like, you think you will be saying that throughout the entire episode and thinking about them, but they don't do that. They literally only do it for a split second, and after that split second, they just go on with their lives. It's like they don't even know the other group and stuff. And I'm just like, who wrote this episode, man? Like seriously, like how can you not think about these people as you're trying to figure out what's going on in this world and trying to get yourself back home and stuff. Also, what bugs me about this episode are the bug things, the wasp slash tarantula things. I still consider that a plot hole because they were introduced in the very beginning of the episode to be a major threat, something that can really screw with the populace, and they just disappeared from the entire episode after they literally slide to the next world with the sliders. And in my opinion, that's what the whole episode should have been about. It should have been about these bugs and how they're reproducing at a fast rate and how it's affecting the people of that world, how it's killing and harming people, and how it's the sliders' fault. If they never slid to that world, they would never they'll never get infected. And it should have been their responsibility to try to stop these bugs. So I feel that's what the episode should have been about instead of this whole comedic thing. But of course, they didn't really have the budget to do something like that with all that CGI of the bugs flying around. And they didn't have the budget at that time, then they probably should never introduced them to begin with. Now, Eggheads. Now, first, let me just say I appreciate the crap out of smart people. I said that before. I love smart characters on TV shows. They're some of my favorite. And in this episode, you know what? It was darn nice to see smart people get appreciated the way sports people do. Because smart people are the one that truly rule this world. Without them, there would be no world anymore. Because, who would be the doctors? Who would be the scientists? Who would be the teachers? Who would be the engineers? You know what I'm saying? Like, without them people, civilization would have died off a long time ago. So they slide onto this world and, they're going all about and like some people recognize them on the street and they're just going goo goo gaga for them. You know what I'm saying? And so like Rembrandt's kind of like, oh, I guess y'all must be famous on this world. He's feeling a little miffed. You know what I'm saying? And so a little boy wants, he asks, are they famous too? And the professor, but Rembrandt and Waze is kind of like, I don't know, are we? And then somebody refers to Professor and Quinn as the Sliders. So this is kind of like, oh my God. Like, if they call them the Sliders, that must mean their doubles are sliders, which means their double has sliding equipment. This is great. I'm thinking to myself, this is awesome. They're going to get their selves back home. And I'm thinking to myself, oh wait, this is a TV show, and the whole purpose of them is not getting home. Kind of like Star Trek Voyager, which is ended up for the better. Because I remember when I was watching Star Trek Voyager, I wanted them to get home. But then I'm thinking to myself, it was actually better that they wasn't in the Alpha Quadrant. Because they got to go to so many cool places and experience so much new technology and alien races and stuff. And it made the show more interesting for that. Because at that time, Star Trek was getting a little bit stale. I mean, they pretty much did everything they could do in the Alpha Quadrant. To where in Deep Space Nine, they had to go to war just to spice up the show and everything. And so on that world, Quinn and Professor, they all decided, hey, that is going to be their doubles and impersonate them because since their doubles are gone because they supposedly slid out of there, then they should just find a sliding technology, reboot the system, boom, go back home. And so it's interesting to see all the ways smart people are appreciated. There is this insane rap about going to the library. I love that rap to death. And the creator of the show, he actually wrote the lyrics and stuff. And it's catchy, it's goofy, it's strange, but it works. I don't know who the people are rapping. I don't know if they're famous or not. But man, I love this rap. And so, when they're in the professor's office, they're looking for information on the sliding technology. And next thing you know, he gets a phone call from a woman. And this woman calls him by his first name. He's freaked out. So he tries to leave. And God, I forgot what I think somebody from the university, one of his students who knows Quinn, they like couldn't believe he's back because Quinn plays sports in this world. I forget what the sport is called. Think of it as like this: basketball meets chess. And they have to run around, throw the ball while answering all these scientific questions, while running across the board and um, gaining points. I'm surprised this hasn't become a real sport. Like, I'm really not. It really should. It'd be so interesting if it was. And so while there, Quinn is with the team, and he's talking to the coach, and he's trying to figure out this game, and it's really hard for him. And there's this one player on the team who's really upset that Quinn is back. Well, when the professor's in his office, he's asking his assistant for it's cool how he asks this lady. He's all like, I need my notes from last week's class. I need this. And all the information you have on my sliding technology. And so the lady doesn't really know what he's talking about because she's all like, he doesn't share that stuff with her. But then that lady is a lady there to see him. And it's this gorgeous woman. And the professor's kind of like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? And the lady hands him some papers. He just got served. He's getting sued by his wife. This is very troubling for him. See, on his world, his wife died years ago. The professor is rattled by this to the point where he can barely talk, he can barely move. When they're back at Quinn's place, and Quinn's trying to figure out how to play that game, and he just can't believe his wife is alive. Not only that, but she's suing, divorcing him. Now that's right, she wasn't suing him, she's divorcing him, and he's just like he couldn't believe it, because he misses his wife so much. And so it's really just I'll get to this point. Let's put a pin in that for now. So this dude shows up at Quinn's place. It's a mob dude, along with that one student dude who doesn't like Quinn. And the mob dude's kind of like, oh, I thought we had an understanding and everything. You leave town and won't be no trouble. And then so Quinn's like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, oh, maybe I should explain a bit better. And he punches Quinn in the gut. And he tells him plain and simple. I forget what he warns about. He said I think Quinn's supposed to either throw the game or he leaves town or something like that. And he won't have to die. This freaks Quinn out to the point where it's he is ready to just straight up leave. He said he's packing his bags. He's finna go out into the woods and stay there until it's time to slide and all this other stuff. And so when he's about to leave, there's this dude who shows up at Quinn's place, one of the other players. He's all, I can't believe you're gonna leave. The coach wants to see you and everything. Now, I'm skipping some parts. I want to get to this point. This is the point that really bugged me about this episode. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I couldn't appreciate it as much as I wanted to. I do like and appreciate this episode, but there's just something in this episode that just bugs the crap out of me. What bugs the crap out of me is Wade and Rembrandt. Literally, they do nothing in this episode. They talk a little bit in the beginning. They talk a little bit in the middle because they get mad because Quinn doesn't want to play this ruse no more. And they're like, look, man, you get to keep being your other double so we can find the sliding technology. And that's basically it. And then they run from the mob. And it's just it sucks how the man of color and the female of the show get so little to do in the first season. And it's just they literally don't do nothing in this episode. They don't do nothing. They could at least hang out with the professor or Quinn as they're investigating and doing this and helping him learn how to play that game or something. And not to mention Wade. We know, even though she's not a genius like the professor or Quinn, she's really good at computers. We found that out in the first episode of the first season. We found that out in the third season a lot. She could have done something in this episode on a world full of smart people. And they don't do nothing for her in this episode. She's literally just on the couch eating popcorn and stuff. So the professor, he talks to his wife, and he's just trying to like tell you, I can't believe you're here and all this other stuff, and she doesn't understand what's going on. But she's telling him how she can't take it no more. She can't take it how he cheats on her. She can't take it how he goes into her bank account and steals all her money. And she's like done with him because she loved him and he betrayed her so much. And the professor, he's just so hurt. Like, he is hurt. And it's nice to see that emotion, from him. But I wish it could have been more. I wish it could have been more. I wish he could have like cried in this episode or something, like got on his hands and knees and begged this woman like not to leave him or something like that. Because the professor, he doesn't care if she's the other professor's wife or not. He wants this woman badly, and he cannot have her. And that was like really the only woman he's ever loved, even in the entire series, to tell you the truth. And it was just a really good time and moment for him to show like this huge aching level of emotion, and he plays it and he plays it well. It just didn't play it up, and this man has skill, so they could have played it up. And it's kind of like in the third season when his double, who slid with the sliders, he meets his wife, and there's like nothing there. Like when he sees his wife, he's just like, there's like no emotion from him in the third season whatsoever, which makes you think, okay, that's not our professor and stuff. Cause this dude would have literally stayed there just to be with her and stuff. So anyway, back to that part with the mafia dude and Quinn and him punching him, stuff like that. So when Quinn said he think off into the woods, and Rembrandt and Wade are pissed because they're all like, you need to like continue being your double and stuff like that so we can find the sliding technology. And that's when the professor gives a very startling revelation. He tells them he doesn't believe for a second that their doubles are sliders and that there is no sliding equipment. He believes that his double has maxed out his wife's bank account, flown somewhere to another part of the world with like some young hot like woman and stuff. And as for Quinn, well, he told him before he has a good reason why he's leaving, because the mob is after him because Quinn wasted their money. And basically the Quinn and professor of this world are just swindlers and stuff. They're con men. And they made up the whole sliding to a parallel world thing, hoping people want to find them in another country. Now, there's no proof to back this up, but it makes sense given like their slimy ways and stuff. And so I do like that revelation the professor came up with, but it would have been nice to actually see their doubles in like the other country, doing what they said and stuff. But I do like the professor came up with this assumption and stuff, because a lot of his assumptions are wrong and everything. Because when that man starts making assumptions about stuff, it's about 70% of the time they're like wrong on the show, I've noticed. So Quinn meets with the coach, and the coach is all like, don't let me down. You let me down before, kid, when you left, and the team needs you. Like, don't be a quitter. And he believes in him, and and it's all like, you ain't no team player, and you just leave, you get out of here, and blah, 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 stuff like that. So Quinn decides, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to play the game, because now he's getting better. He's going to play the game. He's going to win. He's going to expose that one player, and he's going to expose the mob. That's literally what he does and stuff. And so after all that, of course, the mob dude's pissed and wants to kill him. And so as they're running and everything, they're finna slide out of there, and they activate the timer. And then Quinn has his defining proto superhero moment. He ain't a superhero yet like he is in the third season, but he's slowly getting there. Now, the mob dude loves to talk Latin, and Quinn gives him a little bit of Latin himself. And I think something about I don't know, I forgot what he says, but it's pretty insulting. I think he calls him like a sucker or something like that. And so it's just kind of like a like he got him kind of moment, So like, yeah, these are the 3 episodes that I like, I just don't love. One of the things that just bugs me all about all three episodes is the whole Rembrandt and Wade thing. In all three episodes, they barely do anything. And it's just insulting. It's their show too, you know? Because it's only like 9 episodes, and when you go to those 9 episodes, most of the time they barely do anything in those 9 episodes. And it's just very insulting. It's lackluster. It doesn't help the story go forward. They could contribute somehow or some way. They could have wrote something for them, but they don't do that. And I just don't understand why the writers went that route. Thankfully, in other seasons, it gets better, where they are team players and stuff. Because the writers, oh, okay, they saw their mistakes and then they fixed them. That's a good production team. Yeah, you made your mistakes, but once you see those mistakes, then you correct them in the next season.